Mavuika might just be the most lore accurate Archon when it comes to gameplay mechanics. The reason for that is because Mavuika, as you probably know, does not use energy recharge to get her burst like every other character in the game does. She uses what's called Fighting Spirit. In order to actually gain Fighting Spirit, you need to exhaust the Night Soul points of Natlan characters or do normal attacks with any character. But exactly how much of this Fighting Spirit do you need and how much do these characters produce? For Mavuika herself, you need at least 50% Fighting Spirit just to activate the burst. That's how much you need so she can actually use her elemental burst. However, you don't want to just stop there. You can see her values actually scale off her attack, but it's also per Fighting Spirit. So your strength is going to basically rely off of how much Fighting Spirit you have at the given moment. And you can see at the bottom, her Fighting Spirit limit is 200. So 200 Fighting Spirit is the max you can hold, and that's going to be Mavuika at her strongest point. So we want characters who can give Mavuika as much Fighting Spirit as possible in a short time. Well, here's a list of every single Natlan character's Night Soul point limit. Now you can see that by actually going to the character themselves. For example, for Xilonen, if we go to her, we can go to her skill attributes. You can see her Night Soul point limit is 90. So in Xilonen's case, she would contribute 90 Fighting Spirit to Mavuika, which sounds pretty good if you ask me. We're already past 50, so we actually have the burst available, and we're 30 points past 50 on our way to 200. And like I mentioned earlier, you have to exhaust your Night Soul points. So Xilonen specifically is the best character because she exhausts her Night Soul points very quickly. She just kicks the enemy twice and she's done. Yes, those two kicks were worth 90 Night Soul points, aka 90 Fighting Spirit for Mavuika. And your cooldown is very, very short. And as for our non-Natlan characters, ironically enough, are both featured as reruns this patch. Once again, sadly, the only way these characters can give Mavuika Fighting Spirit is by doing normal attacks. So really, your only hope is that you're playing characters who like to do normal attacks in the first place to do their damage. And I'll be completely real with you, you're lucky that you even have that as a mechanic because you only get 1.5 Fighting Spirit per normal attack. So for example, let's say you have a character like Arlecchino who managed to do 21 normal attacks in a rotation. Multiply that times 1.5, you have 31.5 Fighting Spirit ready for Mavuika. At this rate, we failed to hit the baseline just so Mavuika can actually use her burst in the first place. So this in itself is very low and it's not too favorable. But the good news is, depending on what team you're playing, when all these things come together, maybe that can actually help you get to 200 Fighting Spirit a little bit faster. Going back to this chart that I mentioned earlier, you can see Mavuika here is listed herself. And that's because when Mavuika pops her own skill, she will enter the Night Soul state. And she has her own point limit as well, which is 80. So if you're on the field with Mavuika before you burst, you can actually get Night Soul points from herself, and that will add to your Fighting Spirit as well. So if you're down bad for Fighting Spirit, you may actually just find yourself doing normal attacks with any character just to get some extra points in your rotation. Now you may be asking, do I need to use Mavuika's burst? Do I gotta use it every single time? No, not necessarily. But I do want to emphasize that Mavuika's burst may just be the strongest thing we've ever seen in Genshin Impact to date. It is an extremely powerful burst and I would totally recommend using it over not. It's just kind of one of those things where it's too good to miss out on. Let's address the big question. What if you don't have any Natlan characters? Well, of course, if you play the Archon quest in Natlan, you will get Kachina for free. Kachina will give you 60 in total. That's her limit at least. So there's 60 for Kachina. Now, big disclaimer, all right? This is very important. Listen up. You cannot get access to the Pyro Traveler unless you finish Act 5 of the Natlan Archon quest. It's the only way to obtain it. You can't just go to the Statue of the Seven and get the Pyro powers. You have to finish this Act 5 quest. So I am genuinely sorry, but those are the only two options I have for you. You get a free Kachina from the Archon quest very, very early on. So not too long of a quest. Just hop in and do like the first 5 minutes, you'll get Kachina. Then you're going to have the Pyro Traveler, which will take a long time to get because it is the final act of Natlan. So it is Act 5. If you haven't even set foot in Natlan whatsoever, it's going to be a while because you can't just come here and, you know, hit the Statue of the Seven and call it a day. You got to finish the quest. So the good news is this. Kachina can offer up to 60 points of fighting spirit from Mavuika, and the Traveler can offer up to 80 fighting spirit from Mavuika. So once again, with Mavuika herself, she in her Night Soul state will offer up to 80. So just her alone, and then you pair that with the Traveler once you actually get it, that's 80 and 80. So Traveler 80, Mavuika 80, that's 160. That's not bad. That's not bad. You're 40 off from the max amount. And let's say you play Kachina in that team as well. Well, there you go. You're over by 20 points. So it's not the worst thing in the world, but I mean, looking at a team that consists of Mavuika, Pyro Traveler, and Kachina, yeah. But, you know, the Night Soul points will be there. The Fighting Spirit will be there. Let's just say you don't have Kachina in the team. That's at least 160. So you're not completely boned. So TLDW, if you don't really have that many Natlan characters, Mavuika is a bit questionable, but she'll still be a strong character to pick up in general. I can't even blame you for not pulling on Natlan characters because, I mean, they're all DPS units. They're not really supporters, so it's kind of an awkward situation. I mean, it's Mualani, Kinich, and the only exception was Xilonen. And ironically enough, she's the best character to play her with. And then Chasca, of course, also a DPS. So, to be fair, we are pretty early on in Natlan's release, so there's always the future Natlan characters. But even then, you tell me, does that look like there's a lot of Natlan characters there to you? Because it doesn't look like it to me. It doesn't look like it to me. Aoife, Yinsan, maybe the guy in between those two, but the middle is certainly Skirk, and the other three girls, I have no idea. So you can let me know in the comments if those characters maybe happen to be Natlan characters. Maybe you guys have some dreams, but I don't know, man. It doesn't seem too promising for the Natlan roster. It may be one of our smallest rosters yet in terms of characters for the region. So to close things out, I do want to emphasize she will be strong. She'll be pretty cool, but if you're not really feeling Mavuika as it is already, I wouldn't really bother with her. But if you do have some Natlan characters where you plan to pull someone's in the future and you just want to have a more convenient time or a comfortable time, then go ahead and knock yourself out. If you're an Archon collector, obviously you know what your answer is there. But that'll do it for me. Good luck on your pulls very, very soon, and I will catch you guys in the next one.